I own 100% of almost $50 million worth of real estate. If I were to do that debt-free, I don't know, I'd own $2 million worth of real estate.
Dave Ramsey said he's basically a liar.
That guy's so lying that is not true.
And I'm here to find out whether or not that's true.
And I heard this from Gary Vee, like, you find something that works, stick with it. Like, everybody tries to create the new viral video every other video, and that's really tough to do. So I do other stuff.
I got the privilege to spend 20 minutes with him. He was like, you got to start a podcast in 2024. But here's the thing. I was like, okay, what's he going to say? I think what's going to blow up on podcast is... What's up, Wealth Builders? Today, I got me a real estate guy, and this guy you've probably seen on TikTok or Instagram or one of these things. He is known as Faster Freedom, and he's got over almost 300 rental units. He flips over 300 houses a year. So this dude is absolutely crushing it. He is a big proponent of getting debt, and that caught the ire of Dave Ramsey, who said he's basically a liar. And I'm here to find out whether or not that's true. I got Sam Prim. What's up?
How you doing, man? Excited to be on and excited to talk about Dave.
Yeah. So why are you lying?
It's the best thing to do. I feel like if you can't do it, you lie about it, right?
There we go.
Fake it till you make it.
So you, I'll give some context to anyone listening. We met in 2021, 2020?
2020. It might have been right before COVID. It might have been 2019 at CG, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Because I remember you came up to me and I had already, no, it would have been in like late 2020 then. Because you came up to me and I was like making content. You were just starting to make content. Mm-hmm. You were like, dude, like I'm making content too. This is cool. I was like, oh, dude, nice. Like we were some of the only guys in real estate kind of like really taking TikTok seriously. Mm-hmm. And that was the first time we met. And then, since then, obviously, we've both grown. And I think your content has revolved not strictly, but mainly around like, hey, get debt, guys. Like, debt is good. Even though you got these big payments, as long as you're cash flowing, you're good. And that's kind of become your brand. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. Like most things, I just tried as much as I could, right? Just post this about that, this type style. And what seemed to continually hit was the debt, because it's what we're taught not to do. Stay out of debt. Debt is bad, but there's a twist to it. If you do it responsibly, debt's a way to leverage and grow and scale like you could not do, especially if you don't have money. So that's kind of what stuck. And I continue to go back to that, in different styles and platforms quite often.
Does it ever get boring?
It does a little bit, honestly, man. And I try to do other stuff, and I do. And we have other videos that hit. It does get a little boring sometimes. So I do like to change it up. But if I'm best at that, so I will, if things are going south, I'll just go back to the debt and I know it'll hit. So
yeah, it just like makes me think too, because Dave Ramsey's been talking about debt free for literally like 30 years. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, bro, like my mind is already bored, like talking about real estate on its own. Mm-hmm. And, to have the consistency Dave has to talk about the same thing for 30 plus years. Number one says like your conviction.
Yes.
In the belief.
I would say that.
Like you cannot fake 30 plus years of like believing something. Mm-hmm. And then two, just, yeah, dude. I mean, like he believes it and he's going to keep saying it and he's going to call people like you out.
Well, that's how that's how you build a brand like on one thing. Like your brand is much wider and it reaches a ton of different people, right? And a ton of different avenues and a ton of different products and ways to help people. He just is the no debt. He goes hard on that. That's kind of his clientele. And there's enough people that are scared of it that it's done very well for him. I saw the other day that he has potential to become the first billionaire without any debt. And I was thinking that proves my point. There's one without debt and all the other ones have debt, right? So let's go towards the path of least resistance, not the path that one person in the entire world may or may not do. So it just kind of proved my point even more. But I think where I saw it, that person was bragging on Dave about it. So
yeah, dang, that's crazy. A debt-free. Well, too, like these other billionaires could be debt-free.
Yeah, but they understand the power of not being debt-free. I always say Apple, every time they release their books on their quarterlies or whatever, they're sitting on usually $200 billion in cash and $100 billion in debt. They could easily pay off their debt twice over, but they don't. I know that's an extreme example, but they're pretty damn smart and they're considering, they're okay with that as long as they're responsibly leveraging it.
Yeah. Like I could be debt-free, but I'd have to just sell all my real estate and then like I would rather own the real estate.
Yeah, and because you want to grow and you want to scale. Well, like when I think of you, I think of growth and discipline, and you can't really do that. It's hard to do those things if you're trying to pay off debt and not do cool stuff.
Yeah, I also think too it just kind of creates this mindset where you're more fearful than anything. You're like, man, dude, I can't have any debt. And like, I got to go put 20% down on everything. Or actually, that doesn't even make sense, right? I think he allows you to have a personal residence. So
yeah, but then he wants you to pay that off, though. That's part of the baby steps, I believe, he calls them baby steps, by the way, which I think is demeaning, but also I guess he's trying to anyways, yeah. So on the baby steps, one of them is paying off your personal residence. So yeah.
You know what, though? I will say this. I kind of like you was always a Dave Ramsey kind of like, oh, dude, like this guy needs to get off his rocker. But he's never personally attacked me. So then again, like I get your, going at him. For me, my kind of perception of him changed after I had Anthony O'Neill on, who was by his side for many, many years. And he spoke at WealthCon, and we got to know each other really well. And he was like, look, dude, I do believe in being debt-free, but I also believe that, you can start owning some investments and things, utilizing debt. And he was like, but here's the thing with Dave. He's like, so many people have no idea the amount of great things this guy does because it just never hits the headlines. He's like, he will literally pay off millions of dollars of debt every year for other people, like Collins and all this stuff, and pay off his employees' debt and other things. And I was like, you know what, dude? Like, he's serving a very specific set of people who literally need to be debt-free. Yes. They have no discipline.
Correct.
And, more power to him. I don't need him, like, as far as that, but
no, dude. Yeah, no, not at all. And honestly, I don't have anything against him besides him calling me a liar. It was an aggressive call out, which allowed me he was punching down, right? I was able to punch up, which was nice, but I honestly don't have anything against him. I don't know him personally, but I'm sure he's a good guy. I've heard a ton of great stories about the things he's done. Nothing wrong with it, but I'm not going to not take advantage of that situation when Dave Ramsey calls you out. And I've only done like 5 or 6 videos, so I haven't like ran into the ground. But yeah, it's just one of those things. As soon as I saw it, I was like, this is cool. I like this. This is good for my brand, like we were talking about earlier, trying to grow that brand. So I've done a few on it.
You guys will be the hero and the villain. I just don't know who's who, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. One of those.
The debt-free guy and the debt guy.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. And to kind of finish that debt point home is, like when I got started, Ryan, I couldn't afford 20% down payment on a rental.
Me either.
And I own, just like me, without like syndicating, just me and some private lenders that are paid off. I own 100% of almost $50 million worth of real estate. If I were to do that debt free, I don't know, I'd own $2 million worth of real estate, maybe $3 million, right? And I own $50 million and I owe 25. So it's not like we're in a bad situation here. There's plenty of equity and there's some debt on it, but the rent we get is 4 times what the mortgage payment. Also, all that, the math works out if you do it responsibly. But yeah, obviously, if you go get into dumb consumer debt, that's not a way to create wealth. So
yeah. So let's talk about this too, because buying rentals right now is really hard. With rates the way they are. Like for me, I have not even focused on buying rentals at all this year because, for one, here in Vegas, it just does not pencil out. Like before, I would have been good breaking even on cash flow and everything. I'm like, I'm good with that because I'm buying for appreciation and tax benefits and all that. But now it's just not even close. It's just like, dude, you're going to lose big every month buying anything at market value here in Vegas. You, on the other hand, are in the Midwest, which I always hate on. And so this is an interesting conversation because you guys are known for having cash flow and less appreciation. Are you still seeing it? Are you still buying rentals out there right now, or is it even tough out there?
It's tougher out there. It's not as bad as here, most likely. And imagine selling a community course on buying rentals, what I've been doing. But it still works, and you have to drive home. The being disciplined. I talked about this last week with a bunch of the people in the community. Is you got to get market rate. You have to shop the local banks. You have to try to get 25 or 30 years if possible. You have to do all these things. And if you do them, you can still cash flow $200-$300. No, nothing, super amazing, but still you get all the other benefits. But
so what's a property that will do that out there in the Midwest?
So let's say I can be all into something for $150,000. It can be worth $225,000 and it'll rent for $1,600-$1,700.
Okay.
So it'll beat the 1% rule by a little bit. Now the money costs are a little bit higher. So it went from $400 a month cash flow to $100 a month cash flow. But It's all the other.
So you're
benefits.
basically trying to break even, essentially.
Yeah,
almost.
right now, exactly. Yeah. And you just drive home the long-term benefits. And before it was 20-year mortgage. Who cares about the interest rate? And you're still cash flowing. You just have to be a little more disciplined right now. Stick to the fundamentals, and it still works in most of the like Midwest, Southeast markets.
You guys were doing 20-year mortgages out there?
My first mortgage was 20 years to 6.5% back in 2014 on a rental property, and now we got we were able to get 30 years fixed from one of our banks for our whole portfolio. So that really helped. I don't have any ARMs or anything renewing for 8 years, or anything that I bought.
Yeah, good debt now.
Yeah, so yeah.
Good debt.
Good debt. Yes, there's good debt and there's bad debt.
Yeah. So, okay, it's even tough in the Midwest to find cash flow now. Mm-hmm. So you're not one of those guys in St. Louis buying like the $50,000
Oh gosh, no. We like the higher quality assets, and we're having trouble cash flowing a little bit, but we're getting good appreciation still. So we track it like I'm sure you do, but we just got the September numbers, right? So September of 22 to September of 23 was like 8% appreciation. So nothing crazy, right? But that's good to have that. We're not seeing any dips like a lot of markets that saw kind of the higher price homes, but so we get a little bit of appreciation, then cash flows hit or miss a little bit. We're not going negative on anything, but then the tax benefits have been huge. Buying that much real estate in that short of time has really taken down my tax bill to pretty much nothing. So
yeah, no, for sure. So what, I guess at the end of the day, is your plan going forward in order to keep building the portfolio? I mean, are you just focused on flips and wholesales? Because you guys do a ton of those as well. Is it just kind of like wait out the storm and then buy when rentals make more sense? Or you're like, hey, I'm good, kind of just like breaking even a little bit, like I'm just going to keep stacking? Everyone knows that my favorite way to build wealth is through real estate investing. That's the reason that I started Wealthy Investor, where we've trained thousands of students. But here's the thing. I've noticed that so many people fail to get started in real estate because they're worried about the money. They don't know where they're going to get the money to buy a house or flip or handle their renovations and things like that. And so they just never get started. I want to change that. And that's why I created a brand new free course that goes over 5 different ways that you could buy houses without using any of your own money today. And I'm going to give you it completely for free. All you have to do is go to wealthyinvestor.com/podcast. I've made it specifically for you. The moment you go to that link, you'll be able to go get access to it and learn how you could start buying houses today without any of your own money. And if you're somebody who already has a real estate business and who wants to scale, we want to help you too. You can click the link below and book a free strategy call with our team if that's you.
Kind of a combination. So we're getting a little bit creative. We're doing some midterm rentals.
Okay.
And some of our apartment complexes, we're changing some of the units to midterms, and those are great. Like a studio apartment in like a good area, South St. Louis, was renting for $995. And with midterm, we're getting $2,250. So that's a huge difference, right? We're not doing the whole complex, but those kind of things. So we're getting creative, getting a little bit into short-term rentals. Bought a resort down in Branson, Missouri, which is like the redneck Vegas, maybe is a good way to put it.
They just got gambling and stuff, or what?
Yeah, well, there's shows and like comedians, and like they have, Top Golf, and Tiger Woods has a golf course down there. And so it's not bad. It's a lake life kind of thing. So anyways, we bought like a 20-unit resort down there that we're converting into like a boutique hotel, short-term rental.
So
it's going to do really, really well. We bought it for $850, and it appraised.
$850. And it's just so funny how cheap these things are.
It appraised as is though for $1.9, so we got a good deal on it.
How'd you get the deal?
It was a local wholesaler. Nobody wanted it. It was on a really hot.
Just in the middle of like a town that doesn't have a lot of buyers.
It's Branson. Yeah, it's. I think it's got 4,000 people that live there, but over like 3 million people go there a year. It's just literally just
no one lives there. It's just pure tourism.
Yep. So that's how we got that. But we're just getting creative, and then I'm okay with breaking even because I'm looking at it as a portfolio. As a general portfolio and not just specifically per property. And then, we're not adding near as many rentals. I bet we're going to add maybe 25 single family rentals this year, when last year we probably added 75 or 80. So we're definitely scaling things back. We're not going to make a bad investment, but I'm confident in the long run of real estate. So we'll just bide our time right now and wait till rates dip eventually, hopefully, maybe a little bit soon. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I think the key here is that, and this is where most people screw up, is that they just stop being in the real estate game. Mm-hmm. Like, rates are so high. Rental doesn't pencil out. So I'm just going to sit on the sidelines and do nothing. And I'm like, no. You can, still flip. You can still wholesale. Heck, you could be, if you were gung ho on buying rentals, which obviously like I'm not, like if I wanted to, I could be like, hey, I'm just going to go in a market that makes sense because I got to buy these rentals. That hasn't been a priority for me, but it's possible. Like anyone can go out and make it happen in this market one way or another. So I think that's one big thing I want to just tell the audience is just because we're like, dude, it's way harder today, that doesn't mean you just do nothing. Just know it's not like, the free money that was being just printed the last bunch of years.
Yeah, I think I like to say, this is probably, we're getting towards the new norm. Like from 2019 to 2022, that was not normal. With the rates where they were, Fed's funds rates only been zero a couple times after 08 and then after COVID. So that's not probably going to happen again. So it's more likely that this is the new norm. So either figure it out or get out of the games. Don't just sit there on the sidelines and wait. And a ton of people in the space, you probably saw it too, as soon as all this started happening, they just cut half their staff or just reacted too much. And we haven't laid one person, or we laid a couple people off, but not because of the market. So, we like to just stick with it. And on the other side, we're going to be a lot stronger because we were in it. We kept relationships with banks, with lenders. We still worked with contractors. We're still moving. So when things do shake free, if they shake free at however level, we're going to be able to go. All these people that sat on the sidelines, they lost their relationships with the contractors and the wholesalers and everything. They're going to have to almost start over. So we're going to be 10 steps ahead because we stuck with it, even if we're not as profitable maybe as we want to be because the market's shifting a little bit.
Yeah. And that's, what you're describing is playing the long game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's super important because in this year, in 2023, anyone who's being honest will tell you they're not who's in real estate and in most industries too. It's been a tough year and they're not making what they were making last year or the year before. I know a ton of guys in lots of different industries. It's the same story everywhere, especially real estate where interest rates heavily impact what we're doing. And so for me, I've been just thinking about, man, okay, what, as the year has progressed, how do I just prepare myself for the best? It kind of is what it is, with real estate, what people don't understand is there's cash conversion cycles. And so it's a house flip used to be during when, they're printing money and everything, you could flip a house. And I think our average flip was 90 to 120 days, super fast, which is still a pretty long cycle. But the moment rates doubled and everything, our cycle became 9 months on average. And so basically, everything that's happened this year has been a byproduct of what we had already done last year for the most part in terms of all these house flips. And, obviously along the way we can wholesale and do creative stuff and everything. And we have, and that's what's been good. But, we've been taking losses on flips that we bought last year. And so it's every time we make a gain, we make a loss. And it's just this bouncing back and forth. And we finally have pretty much cleared the deck of all of our losses. And so it's been good on that front. And it's a big sigh of relief. But the good thing is because of that, it's let us build this foundation that is so much stronger than it was before with, hey, you know what? Our first strategy is going to be going after novations and creative stuff. And we're now marketing in totally different ways. We're doing all these deals with our students now, and we've got a much bigger sales team and, just better processes. We're nationwide now. And so when I look at what's preparing or what 2024 should look like, I'm oh, dude, we're in a really prime position to take advantage, especially to your point for everyone else who laid people off, stopped marketing, sat on the sidelines, they're going to miss out.
Yeah. And you just talked about the long game and pivoting. You talk about it all the time, and I do too. Not everybody is as transparent as we are on social media. Yeah, we got our stuff kicked in. I think Q4, Q1, and Q2, we about broke even. 23-person company, our flipping company, we might have squeaked out $20,000 profit over 9 months.
I lost money.
Yeah. So that's 23 employees that we kept them all, and they're all making a profit, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Luckily, we have the other businesses and those things. So I didn't want that to sustain much longer, but we kind of like you are on the other side of it a little bit. We had a great Q3. Q4 is looking pretty good. We got rid of all the stuff that we bought before interest rates doubled. So exactly. Yeah, similarly, you just stick with it and you'll be much stronger for it.
Yeah. And I think back to 2020 when kind of the same thing happened, right? People were super scared. They laid off all these people. And then guess what? For me anyways, I just kept buying. I was oh, dude, this is fake. Let's just roll. And 2020 ended up being the best year of my career. And then it led to 2021, which was the next best year. And then, it was great. But many people missed out on the entire 2020, because they just kind of gave up before even seeing it. And then they still were okay because 2021 ended up being great. But, you're always going to have a delay in business. It's not like you can just start today and then instantly you already have this pipeline you have processes, you have people working leads and sales, and dude, real estate just takes time.
And I would say you're probably one of the quicker implementers out there as far as getting an idea and implementing it, but we're not teaching people how to like buy widgets or create a little bit of money. We're trying to teach people how to create wealth, and we're trying to create wealth ourselves. It's just not easy. It is what it is. There's always going to be something external affecting us. The economy, wars, printing money, not printing money, interest rates, political. There's always going to be some headwinds, right? So if you can get creative and go around those and stick with it, we're creating wealth. We're not creating, like I always like to say, widgets, where it's not going to always be easy. And if you want it to be easy, you should probably go do something else.
Yeah. So I have a philosophy, and I'm curious what you think, that people should not focus on like buying rentals right away. I think that people who are broke, which, I'm sure you get a lot of people who DM you are like, hey, I don't have any money, but I want to get into real estate. Mm-hmm. And like, I want to own rental properties and get cash flow and get all this passive income. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to live in that fantasy too, where I was just broke and all of a sudden, I got 20 rentals and it's just cash flowing 10 G's a month and, life is good. But I'm like, that's just not life though. The reality is if you're broke and you start buying rental properties, the odds are you're going to freaking get a repair or a vacancy or something that's going to end up putting you in a bind if you're broke. To me, the better way is to start flipping and wholesaling and doing creative stuff so that you can generate active income and, build up your skills and all that stuff. So I'm curious what your opinion is.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I think I always tell people it depends on your short-term cash position and your long-term goals. If you got a great job and you're looking to stack rentals and you got a little bit of free time and you want to create that wealth and not get out of your job, then I think you can go right into rentals. It's super easy. But if you're one of those people that are broke or need money now or looking to get out of their job, you're not going to do that. I thought I could buy like 50 rentals and quit my job. That's not possible, especially if you leverage like I do and don't use any of your own money. So thinking that you're going to get $200-300 a month cash flow off of enough rentals and then quit your job and have that be your only source of income, you're not as bankable because you quit your W-2 job that everybody loves. What happens when 2 roofs need repaired or a couple ACs go out? Like, it's not a responsible way to do it. So I 1,000% agree. If you're wanting to quit your job and you don't have a ton of money, don't get into rentals right away. You can maybe pick a few off, but focus on that active income. You need that active income to be there, whether it's your job or wholesaling or flipping, and then you can work on the passive side. So I tend to agree.
Yeah. I also like that when you learn to flip or wholesale, buying rentals is easy. Just don't sell it. It's
easier, right? You don't have to worry about listing. Go to the bank. They're going to give you an appraisal. It's a much faster cycle. You don't have to get it on the market and all that. So yeah, it's faster once you do.
Is that your guys' process? You have your marketing and sales machine over here, just getting flips and wholesales, and then you just cherry pick what you want to keep?
Yeah, and that's why we've been able to add a few this year, maybe 2 a month-ish, because we have that machine over here. Like, I want to grow and scale and own $1 billion in real estate. I'm not going to be able to do that with all single family one-offs here and there. So, but that machine's there, and I love single families in St. Louis. So might as well pick the good ones off as we're going, and then, do the multifamilies and the packages of houses and things like that. But the machine's there already running, so might as well take advantage of it, is why we do the one-off single family still.
Yeah. If you're watching this show, my guess is you're probably an entrepreneur who's trying to grow your business. And for me, the best thing I ever did to grow my business was build my personal brand on social media. It's allowed me to get more revenue. It's allowed me to raise more capital, and it's allowed me to hire better talent. And if you are not currently creating content for your brand, you're missing out, and your competition is. So if you want to learn to grow, my advice is to create a podcast. Now, there's a lot that goes into building a podcast and why I believe it's the best way. So I've actually created a free training that I want you to go check out. If you go to pinedamedia.com/podcast, you can go access the free training right now and see how a podcast is going to be the best decision to grow your personal brand today. So go check it out by clicking the link below, and I'll see you in the training. I forgot until you just started talking about W-2, because I never really addressed the W-2 people, because I never had a W-2 job. Mm-hmm. So I don't ever really think from, I've always been a hustler, just thinking about like how I can just, make money for myself. Mm-hmm. But I remember you telling me your story. You were doing really well as a W-2 guy before you finally went all in. You want to tell people about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I was making like $250,000 a year, and that's in St. Louis. That's a good amount of money.
Dude, you're the richest guy in St. Louis. Besides anyone in the Cardinals.
Oh yeah, you quit it. We talk about the coast versus the Midwest thing. Ryan and I are going to battle about it. We're going to arm wrestle over it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was doing really well, and I enjoyed it, and I had some flexibility, but I was doing real estate on the side and I saw the potential of that. So I was able to quit my job after having like 30 rentals and having some flips and wholesales. But the reason I was able to grow and scale so quickly was because I had that stable W-2 income. Banks love that. It's annoying. Banks would rather see you make 75 grand with a W-2 job than make 150 grand as an entrepreneur on your own. It's so stupid. So have that W-2 job, use it while you have it and need it, and then move along. So yeah, I was able to make that leap, and I get a lot of, oh, I don't feel sorry for you making good money, you quit your job. And I'm like, it was way riskier. There's way less $250,000 jobs in St. Louis than $50,000 jobs. So, you know, you're making 50. I was selling I was sales manager for Caterpillar construction equipment in my region. So, so selling big tractors. So,
yeah, I agree with you, dude. Like, the person who quits their job that they hate and not even making much money on is like, yeah, I mean, on one hand, you have risk because, you know, you don't have much saved up and stuff. On the other hand, you have risk because if you stay, you're still broke and you're not making any money doing what you're doing. Yeah. You know, the guy who is making $250 has like a big risk to leave that job.
Yeah, good job and you know, family and kids and a new house, a new pool, all that stuff. So it was risky, but you know, couldn't stay on the sideline anymore. I was thinking I can do 30 rentals and 15 flips a year, let's say, 10, 15 hours a week. What happens when I can devote 70 hours a week to this? And you know, it luckily worked itself out to where I was able to grow.
What even got you intrigued while you were doing that to go into real estate?
So it's so cliche, but Rich Dad Poor Dad, my business partner, Lucas, who I thought you met back in the day, he sent me that and I read it on my honeymoon in like 2012 and got just my mind turning. I just had a W-2 job and was thinking I wanted to do more than a W-2 job. I grew up playing competitive sports and you know, had a business in college where I was painting houses. And so I always kind of had that itch aside from just being on the corporate ladder, but I grew the corporate ladder so quickly. I was 27 years old and I was a sales manager of like 15 veteran sales guys. And my region was doing 100 million in sales for Caterpillar equipment. So I grew that so quickly that it was almost like it was good, but it was almost a distraction of had I not done so well, I might've gotten into real estate quicker.
Why do you think you were so good?
Honestly, it's ridiculous, but I just did what I said I was going to do. I didn't know what equipment was when I got started. I didn't know what a skid loader was versus a backhoe versus a high lift versus an excavator. I don't know why they hired me. I think I was right out of college. I made 17 grand that first year, that first half year.
You were just like a low level salesman.
Yeah. And they're just like, go in there. I was selling the small equipment at first. So I made 17 grand that first year, 40 grand that next year. And then I started to, learn about the industry, learn how to connect with people. I didn't have any training in sales, but I just did what I said I was going to do. And everybody was like, how are you making this many sales? How are you the number one sales guy? How are you sales manager now? It's like, I told him I was going to give him a quote and I gave him a quote. Like so many people so many people are lazy, right? You just have to do the minimal things to separate yourself from 80% of people. And then you'll start to butt heads with the people that are super competitive and do what you do. But you can pass 80% of people just by doing what you say you're going to do. It's really not that complicated.
You know, what's funny is I tell people that about like health and stuff. Like, dude, like I just cannot find the time to work out and, you know, just eating healthy is tough, like whatever excuse. And, you know, like that's a normal people excuse. And then people are like, dude, like, you know, how do you stay in shape and stuff? I'm like, oh, I don't know. You know, I just, you know, eat properly and I work out for an hour a day. Like it's not this crazy secret. Just do that. And I'm sure you're going to be fine.
You're not injecting serum in your neck or anything like that?
Nothing in my neck, but now I am injecting stuff in my butt, but that's a different story. Well, that's a different path we'll go on.
Okay.
But it's just still like, even before that, I'm like, dude, like it's not rocket science. Just freaking, you know, prep your meals, cook some chicken and some rice. You don't need like some new fad diet. Chicken and rice will work. And then just do any workout. Literally just do anything for an hour. You don't even need to lift weights or go walk for an hour.
Move your body.
Yeah.
I feel like if something is hard, people overcomplicate it so they don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So if they know something's going to be hard and require discipline, a lot of work, and it's going to require their focus, let's just say it's complicated or overcomplicated so I don't do it. It's like a subconscious or a conscious thing that I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, like selling Caterpillar to me sounds pretty difficult. It sounds complex.
It was very complex, especially at first when I didn't know what the equipment was. Yeah. All these people that I was selling against were these, you know, farm boy, country boys that grew up on equipment and tractors and knew all the stuff and knew how to operate the equipment and all that kind of stuff. I called it gas that you put in it for the first like 6 months. And somebody's like, hey, it's diesel. You don't put gas. I was like, I don't freaking know. So it was hard at first, but it taught me a lot. It gave me a lot of confidence to go up and be able to sell against these people. And Caterpillar's obviously I sold it. I think it's the best of the best. I know it's the most expensive out of all the equipment. So I'm selling the most expensive thing out there to not everybody can afford it, and trying to sell the value and the premium and the service and everything. So it taught me a lot about, learning a skill and gaining confidence. It's something I had no idea what I was doing. Similar like social media, when we got started, we have no idea what you're doing, but it built the confidence in me to just go try new things.
How much do those big Caterpillars cost?
They range. The big ones are probably, I would say, like there's so many different kinds, but like I'd say $500,000 for like a big one. I mean, I
would have thought way more.
Well, you can buy a D10 probably for like $2.5 million. So it depends.
What are the commissions?
The commissions weren't huge. So I sold like $10 to $15 million worth of equipment when I was selling, and that's how I made that 250. So the math, it's probably like 1%, maybe 1.5%, maybe something, nothing crazy, depending on the profit you made. And profit margins were pretty light. They're like 10%.
Yeah.
But the profit came in the service and the parts.
Oh,
it's like
a loss leader.
It's like razors. It costs a lot of money to buy them, but when it's the replenishing of the razors every time, and that's where they make their profit. So, which you don't need razors anymore.
I don't, dude. I got a beard.
You're a big burly man.
I could sell Caterpillar for sure.
There you go. You might have to wear like a.
Actually, I don't know if they got any Filipinos selling Caterpillar.
I think you could do it. You have the right clientele. You might have to wear like a Bass Pro hat or something, cover up the pink, but then you'd be fine.
Oh, for sure. No, they ain't buying it from a pink haired guy. That's
Bass Pro hat or cat hat. Cat hats are I think it's the most popular hat in the world, actually. So
the cat hat.
Mm-hmm. Just because think about it, like a sports hat.
I was like, what is the cat?
Oh, like the cat logo. Yeah. So like, not a mean cat, but like sports hats. You follow your team, and the Yankees have a big following, but it's kind of like, but the world, Caterpillar worldwide. So I think it's the number one selling hat. So I'll get you a cat hat.
Dude, I'll freaking wear it, dude. I'll wear it. No, that's interesting. But it goes back to, you put your mind into something and you give it an opportunity, and you just, put your head down, do your job, nothing out of the ordinary, just, put in the work. What was it like managing these veteran sales guys, being the young guy? Like, how do you demand respect? Was that tough?
It was a little bit tough at first. I think the fact that I had proven myself to some degree, I had been selling for 5 or 6 years, and, grew from selling the little equipment to the big equipment to the, number 1 or 2 sales guys in the company. And, I had earned the respect, and I didn't come at them like, hey, I know everything. I would ask them questions. So just, again, not being, overcomplicating it, just asking them questions, listening to them, respecting them. It just how I treated them. And a few of them were a little bit harder to turn around, but most of them I knew, and we had a pretty good relationship. And I tried to create a little bit of a culture in just my region. So it wasn't too bad. It was a little bit challenging at first, but
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you leave. Obviously, you start building this real estate empire. What did you start? I mean, you said you already had rentals and you were doing some flips. Like, what was the goal at that point?
Yeah. So the goal when I quit my job was just to continue to grow. I think the goal was 25 million in real estate by 2025 at that time. My first goal in 2014 when I started was 1 house a year for 10 years. That was my original goal. And then we set other goals, and then it was 25 million in real estate by 2025. And we hit that in 2020, early 2020. So we're like, we need to set some bigger goals so we're not crushing every single goal that we set. It's cool, but I'd rather stretch a goal than, just beat every goal right away. So now $1 billion in real estate, $1 billion company, and own an NBA team. So we're just shooting for the moon now. See where we land.
What's the NBA team all about? Where do you want one? St.
Louis. Hey Ryan, I saw that.
No, I'm just asking.
I saw the eye roll, Ryan. No, okay. So all right, so owning an NBA team,
we're gonna get one here.
Yes, you. LeBron James will be the owner, probably. Right?
That's what he said.
And what he says usually happens. So no. So here's where the NBA team comes into play. I understand St. Louis is not on the top list of expansion teams for the NBA.
I don't even think it's in the top 10.
It's on the top 50 list, right?
Top 50 for sure.
Okay.
For sure.
So it's on the list. So if I were able to do that in 20 years, it's more of like a checkbox goal, right? That will mean I will have made a lot of money.
Yep.
That will mean I have networked with a lot of other millionaires or multimillionaires and billionaires. It will mean I have helped to make St. Louis a more desirable place to live and kind of like make it more of a hub. It will also mean that I've gotten in with local government and local business. And it'll also mean I'm bringing in a lot of really cool jobs to St. Louis with, bringing in the obviously the team and everything goes along with that.
It.
So that's why. So obviously I mean, maybe I'll own one. I kind of doubt it, but I know you never know.
No, don't doubt it, bro.
Well, crazier stuff's
put it out
happened.
into existence, maybe.
But yeah, no, but I'm not like I'm gonna own one, right? No matter what. I think
you're not Gary Vee.
No, correct. So I'm gonna, and this is probably being confident, but I would say there's a 20% chance I'll own one. So I think that's pretty high. But again, if I don't, at least I will have checked most of those boxes. So it's kind of like rather than saying I want to do this, and this, I want to own an NBA team because if I do that, meanwhile I have done all of that.
Yeah. No, I love it. You know, when I was playing minor league baseball, I remember I was always entrepreneurial minded. And so I remember looking out in the stands. I'm like, all right, man, there's 5,000 people here. And I would do the math. And I was like, okay, they all paid, let's say $10 a ticket. You know, that's 50 G's. Let's say each of them spent about $10. That's another 50 G's. And there's like all this other stuff. But let's just say like they made $100,000 tonight. And, you know, we play 140 games a year in the minors. So they get 70 home games. You know, that's $7 million. Like, huh. And, you know, you just start doing these exercises in your mind and stuff. And I was like, and also, I'm only making $1,200 a month. So like
something.
Yeah, like they're making some money for sure because we ain't getting paid nothing. And like it's only 6 months out of the year that they're even paying us or anyone. And they're probably going to rent the stadium to concerts and all this other stuff. I was like, yeah, I'd like to own a minor league baseball team one day. You get slave labor and you get, you know, baseball and all this other stuff. This is great from a business owner perspective. And people get offended. Slave labor. It's like, yeah, freaking $1,200 a month.
Yeah,
It was like $3. Well, yeah, they didn't get paid anything, but I guess I'll level up. So
yeah, no, it was you. So you have that. You have the disease too that I have, where everywhere I go, I'm like trying to analyze the situation and where like the money goes, and like I can't be anywhere and not like try to figure out like the flow in the business model behind it. Like I talked to a pastor at my church, and I'm like every like Sunday they'll do something, and I'm always like looking around and seeing like the band they're like communicating. This guy, the new band member this week, was like low on the drums, and he's trying to like raise the drums up at the right time, and just this happened and that happened. I'm always like, I can't be in a situation where I'm not like analyzing the business side of a situation. So it sounds like you have a similar disease, but it could be worse.
It's a disease for sure. I'm always like, how does this all work? Like, is this even worth it?
And
like,
I see it in my 7-year-old. I don't see it in well, she's almost 2, but I see the same thing in my 7-year-old, asking all these questions, trying to figure everything out. So it's kind of fun.
Yeah. But you know what's cool is, so that was like a dream. I was like, man, one day that would be cool. And now I'm like, dude, that ain't worth my time. Freaking, I'm not going to own a minor league team. I'm like, if I'm going to do something, it's got to be big at this point. And, you know, as fate would have it, you know, I got drafted by the Oakland A's, and now they're moving to Vegas. And so
it's a sign.
I don't know, dude. You know, I think it's destiny to own the A's at some point.
Nice.
I don't know when it'll be. It's not like a goal, but it just is like,
it's coming.
It just is like, why wouldn't I?
I thought you were going to say you were going to get a part of LeBron's ownership group and own
that too. Yeah, I want that.
Yeah, because
that would be dope.
Most of these teams are owned by like 30 or 40 people. It's just like 1 or 2 people own a majority of these sports franchises.
Well, I saw like Patrick Bet-David just got a part of the Yankees.
And then Magic Johnson has a little bit of part of a few different, I think the Commanders, and it was the Dodgers, maybe so the Dodgers. So unless they're like Kroenke or something like that, I think a majority of the teams are owned by, you know, somebody owns 50% and the other 50% is owned by like 30 people.
And I would guess by the time the A's finally get here, which it would be in a few years from now, I think for sure I'll like be able to own a piece.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not the goal. Like the goal would be like, I'm in control.
Mark Cuban.
I'm the captain.
You're Mark Cuban is what you want to do. Or Jerry Jones.
Yeah, like I'll start my way in and just like, yeah, dude, like this is cool. Like the local Vegas guy is back on the team that drafted him as an owner because he wasn't good enough to actually make the team. And, you know, like, but then eventually.
Your ultimate revenge.
Yeah. I bought into you guys now. I paid you.
Yeah, so we're lowering your pay now to what I used to get paid. It's your whole evil plan.
Yep.
I think that's definitely a possibility. So,
but I like your goal of St. Louis. All the reasons beyond just owning the team.
It's not just the vanity. That'd be cool, but it's really not about the vanity of like being an owner.
Are you from St. Louis?
Yep.
So you're just super attached to St. Louis.
Yeah, if I wasn't from St. Louis and we didn't have family there, me and my wife talk all the time. We would not be. I like St. Louis, but it's not the most exciting city. I admit it. I don't have delusions about St. Louis's coolness, but it's really most people that go there like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought. Like it's not too bad.
No, St. Louis is fine.
It grows on you a little bit.
St. Louis is it's not like the other cities in the Midwest where there's literally nothing going on. Like it's like a real city that's got a lot of cool stuff.
It's got a lot of cool history too.
Yeah, I remember going to St. Louis during the 1998 home run race. That was tight.
Yeah, that was fun. That put St. Louis on the map a little bit. So yeah, it would be cool. St. Louis isn't the most exciting city, but if we didn't have family there, didn't grow up there, me and my wife talk all the time, we would move somewhere else. Probably.
It's like the gateway to the West or something. Is that the name?
The Arch. Yep, the gateway to the West. Yep, it was like the poppin' city in 1904. It had
1904. It was crazy.
Well, listen, okay, Ryan. It had the World's Fair and the Olympics in 1904, all in one city. But then the city and the county started fighting, and they're still fighting in this pissing match between the politics, and so it's just basically been flatlined.
How are the city and the county like? What do they fight about? Why are they different?
So they fight about like everything. Like I just found out the other day, it's ridiculous. So I just found out the other day, my cousin is a pilot for American. He was in Marines for 15 years. He flew Ospreys, and now he's out in civilian life, and he's was looking at Southwest and American, and he's like, so the city owns St. Louis's airport, and usually it's not the city, usually it's the state, and they charge like 4 times what other airports charge. Every time you land somewhere, the airlines have to pay whoever owns the airport a little fee, like $5 a head of whoever the passenger is. And St. Louis is like $25, and it's not that cool of a city. So like none of these people come to St. Louis because the city
they're all connections.
The city uses St. Louis airport to balance their budget.
Oh,
but it hurts overall because
less people will go. It
slows the growth of everything, and less airlines want to go there. So, anyways, just stuff like that. And then there's just this. It's a long history of the city and the county fighting. So it's been
it
not
sounds
good for
really
growth.
dumb. Yeah. So St. Louis, you're doing your real estate thing. COVID hits. I don't know about you, but I had like 50 house flips going on when COVID hit. What were you doing?
I don't think we had that many, but we probably had, probably like 20 or 25 house flips going on. I mean, I think in 2020 we bought like 215 houses, so not quite where we're at now. But we were freaked out for like a week. I think we like talked about cutting our.
How'd you only have 20 going on if you bought 200
I'm like
houses?
flips, like actual rehabs. Like, but we probably had 40. We always have 30 to 40 like wholesales under contract and things like that.
Okay, so the majority of those are wholesale.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't explain that. So we bought like 312 last year. We're probably going to buy 250 this year, and I'd say we're probably going to rehab like 75. So a majority of what we do is wholesale. That's much more scalable, less risk, all that. We close on quite a few if we have to maximize it, but a majority of what we do is wholesale. So we probably had, I guess, probably 30 or 35 at the time, but not all fix and flips. That's much scarier. The exposure is way higher.
What's your wholesale fees out there looking like these days?
Our average wholesale fee, I think I just saw the numbers. I think it's like 16 or 17.
Okay.
So nothing crazy, but like not horrible.
Well, there's some people that think the Midwest is only 5 to 10 grand wholesales. Yeah. Okay. We obviously we work on bigger margins out here. Our average wholesale / novation was 37.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know Cali and stuff is even bigger for a lot of people. So it'll be interesting to see now that we're nationwide where that number lands. I'm very interested to see.
I always say that I think the national average wholesale fee is like in the low 20s, but who knows? Like when you're averaging,
I would agree with that.
That's what
I would think. Yeah, like 20 grand is what I would guess it at.
Yeah,
just having you've got students, we've got students. Just like hearing the numbers subjectively, I would say that's accurate. What are you guys doing novations and stuff too? A
little bit. We've done a handful. We haven't gone all in on it. We had to get through the brokerage's mind that it's okay and all that kind of stuff that you know and deal with. But yeah, we've done a few of them and they've been great. They've been for us like 40, 50, 60K spreads.
Exactly.
And it's very very little work, little minimum work, and it's a really really cool unique thing that I wish we've been doing for longer.
Yeah. No, that was. I'm glad we made that shift. For like I said, you learn a lot when things are hard versus when things are good. You're like, freaking, let's eat, baby. And then when things get hard, you're like, oh man, like we're gonna have to switch things around here. Novations have been great. For anybody who wants to learn them, we teach them at Wealthy Investor. So we'd love to help you. But with COVID, I think that's when you started doing social media as well. Mm-hmm. What led you to that decision?
So, gosh, it started off so small. So my goal was to grow a YouTube channel and put out videos and, eventually have them make $1,000 to $2,000 a month, like have them basically be a rental. That was like my initial dream was I want to grow a YouTube channel and then have the video, monetize the videos and have them, make me some.
You were just only thinking about the AdSense.
That's all at first, right? So that's all I was thinking about.
What year was this?
This was 2020.
This was in COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
did you see like Graham and those guys doing it and you were like, oh man.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't plan on being a coach. I didn't plan on having a mentorship, a community, anything like that. I just was focused mainly on the real estate side. I was the owner, but I was the sales manager and marketing guy. That was
you were busy.
So that I just was like, let's record some stuff. I'll talk about it minimal time. And I sucked at YouTube then. I suck at YouTube now.
Oh, geez.
So I started to make TikToks and Instagrams to push to my YouTube was the whole goal. Like I'll grow an audience.
Yeah, because you're like, this isn't going to make passive income over here.
So I'll grow an audience here and then push them to YouTube. And while that worked for a little while, we're at, I don't even know. We don't do YouTube anymore on that channel for the reasons that I suck at it. But we were close to 100,000 on YouTube, but I shut that channel down.
Well, hold on. Why?
Because
why would you shut a YouTube channel down?
Well, I didn't shut it down. It's still there, but yeah.
But why? You have almost 100,000 subs. Why would you shut it down? People are listening are like, what is wrong with this guy?
Lots of stuff's wrong with me. We don't have that much time and Ryan's not a professional. However,
I've got quite a bit of time. I've been known to be a therapist and really dig deep. So I gotta understand this. Hold on. Let's take a step back.
93,000 YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Quit.
Why?
Because it wasn't worth my time and energy to put into it. I had been doing it for about 3 years and we were getting 500 to 1,000 views for most videos because my audience was, I think it was part of the algorithm. My audience was all from other platforms. I would do TikToks, I would do Instagrams, I would shove them over there. They would start an account or go there and sub and never come back. And the algorithm didn't appreciate that, in my opinion.
But like, did YouTube Shorts contribute to a lot of the growth too?
Not at first, no. I mean, YouTube Shorts, we were at probably 75,000 when YouTube Shorts came out.
Oh, okay.
But
you were still kind of using it that same way.
Yes. And then, I kind of stopped because I realized, the short form I get there. I think I've heard you talk about this, like the ladder of, short form to mid form to,
long form
to YouTube to podcast. Like that's the whole growth. And they say for the podcast, they're way more committed than scrolling through TikTok and seeing you. However, I was able to get so many views on the short form. I'm just better at it. I'm not great at everything, right? I'm better at short form content, creating hooks, digging deep on one topic that hits. And then that has correlated into the mentorship and the community. So it's done the job that I wanted, YouTube to do after I realized I was going to make money on AdSense, build a community. So it did the job without it. And I would spend 10 hours a week on YouTubes and we'd release 2 a week and I'd get, 2,100 views total. And I would spend 10 minutes on creating 2 or 3 TikToks and Instagrams and we'd get 400,000 views, so it's
right.
Not a little extreme, probably 200,000 views though. So it just wasn't worth my time and energy. And we're actually focusing on a podcast now and we have started a new YouTube channel for the podcast. So I am on YouTube, but it's mainly for the podcast. So
got it.
So that's the whole story. So dig in, tell me what you think.
Man, I think a lot of things. One is I wouldn't say you suck at YouTube. I mean, dude, to grow to almost 100,000 subscribers, man, that's a huge accomplishment. So I think you're a bit hard on yourself on that front. I think that, short form. I mean, obviously it's been your bread and butter to this point for everything, and I think that probably. I think podcasting is great. And that's my big push to everybody. Mm-hmm. I'm like, guys, just podcasting's the future. I mean, it's nothing new, but it's like what people really want. And even in my YouTube career, I've done it now for, a little over 3 years. And I've gone through lots of shifts. Just, dude, I'll tell you the thing that I've always done is I'm willing to just test whatever. So, I tested doing the 10 to 15 minute videos for many years. I tested vlogs. I tested going out to properties. I tested doing side hustles. I tested just doing these talking heads. And, they've all performed to varying degrees.
Better than mine.
Yeah, they've performed in different ways. And I will say the one I for sure made YouTube the emphasis of what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Even when TikTok and stuff were taken, I was like, hey, I still understand that this is the thing that matters the most. And so I always focused on getting good at that. The short form, I was just like winging it. And I'm like, freaking, dude, here's 3 tips. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it just was always a free flow. But yeah, as time has gone on, I've just realized like the people who have long form content have like that true dedicated following because they just spend more time with them. It's impossible to spend time with somebody in short form alone. And like when I just think about the biggest influencers / creators, however you want to define it, they all have long form. Like I just don't know anybody that's like this massive persona without long form.
No, I agree. It's just, so if you're on any social media for 5 minutes, if you're on TikTok for 5 minutes, you're seeing 50, 60 different people. If you're on Instagram for 5 minutes, you're probably seeing 30, 40 different people. If you're on YouTube or a podcast, it's one person that you
exactly.
And hopefully you're there longer, obviously, but I'm just taking that time frame. So yeah it's way more buy-in. I mean, Dave, he's got that radio show that's now a podcast. We talk about him because he's the long form stuff. He grew his audience by communicating and doing his show. So yeah, long form is, I believe in long form too. I'm just shifting more towards that podcast, and it's something Lucas and I do together. So we have a podcast that we just launched.
What's it called?
It's called the Fast Freedom Show.
Okay.
So Lucas and I do that together. It's fun. You know, like we said earlier, I think you met him, but we've been friends since middle school. So like that's the only time we're together. He is the operations finance side of the flipping and rentals. I'm focused just on education basically. So we don't even see each other some days, and we've been, best friends for 25 years, 20 years. So now that's the one thing we do together. We shoot 2 episodes a week. So it's just fun, honestly, that we catch up and just talk. So I enjoy it. And then I think it's gonna be really fun and good, and it's just gonna grow way more of a bought in audience.
How long you guys been doing it?
We've been doing it for about a year, a little over a year.
Yeah. Doing a podcast is also like super long term. Like it's slow to grow podcast.
Yeah.
Like even when I talk to these guys who have massive podcasts, like, I was talking to Bradley, dude, he's like, dude, yeah, just one day I started doing it. It was like 7-8 years ago. Brandon Turner been doing it, for a decade. It's just, it's a slow thing, but even as a slow thing, the reason I like podcasts better now, is that you can still get your short form from it. You just get your clips and you now you killed 2 birds with 1 stone. And so that's why I don't even make the 10 to 15 minute videos anymore either. So like we both kind of did the same thing.
Arrived to a similar point, just differently.
Yeah. Like we both quit those types of videos.
Exactly.
And we focus on short form and we focus on podcast. I just was like, why did you stop the 100,000? Like just throw the podcast on there. Well, that's my opinion.
So we thought about it, but we did a lot of deep diving, and from my understanding, and you can understand the algorithms to a certain degree. I know they shift and move around a little bit, but our core following on that channel, and you get the followers, but the core following wasn't on that channel, so things were not getting pushed. We could see the impressions, we can see all of that. I didn't come to that decision lightly. We've been doing it for 2.5-3 years. So I had 600 videos, and we just weren't hitting. And on long form, if it's just me, I just go down these rabbit holes and all. So it's hard to chop up my podcast because I'm such a turbulence, Lucas calls it. We're going the right direction, but I make us go everywhere. So it's tough to cut up my long form stuff. But yeah, I didn't, I thought about throwing it on that channel, but the fact that I would say 50% of the freaking subscribers weren't even active on YouTube. We were never going to reach the core numbers for your initial audience for them to push it to the further audience. So that's why. But
what's funny is we started oppositely. So, I had my main channel, which was the 10 to 15 minute videos. And then I started a podcast 2.5 years ago, and I started a whole new channel for it. I'm like, I don't want to commingle, kind of like what you're saying. So I did them both separate. And then one day, after just strategizing and thing, I was like, we had this consultant. He's like, I think you should just move it to the main channel. And this other channel had 40,000 subs. So like it was growing. And he was just like, Ryan, what do you see yourself doing long-term for content? And I was like, not these 10 to 15 minute videos. These suck. I hate making these. I don't want to go to tour houses. I don't want to script 10 to 15 minute videos. The vlogs are cool because I don't have to do them, but to be truthful, the vlogs are kind of boring. As much as I got going on, it's kind of boring here what I do. You'll see me in a meeting for hours a day. You'll see me I meet type people every week, but you'll just watch the podcast. That's what you'll see. So I was like, okay, the vlogs don't really work. And I was like, I would be completely happy if I never had to make a 10 to 15 minute video again. Like the podcast is great. I can just riff, don't have to think about it. And cool people want to hang out all the time. So that's great. And he's like, all right, yeah, then that settles it. You should just put it all on the main channel. Because at that point I had like 300,000. And so that's what we did. And now we're seeing the best results we've ever had. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up is because like there is a certain degree of, I would say, credibility that, you know, like, oh, okay, they've got this following and stuff. And it definitely took a while for it to like actually start sticking.
Okay.
It didn't happen right away, but now it's like, you know, I think 8 or 9 months into like fully switching over. I mean, this was our best 90 days ever.
Okay. How's your video compared to your audio as far as like listeners or downloads or whatever?
I'd have to look at the long form views because shorts manipulate it.
Oh yeah.
So like if you toss those out combined, they're over 1 million a month, but definitely the video gets more.
Okay. The video gets more. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Ours is more audio right now, but okay. Yeah, no, we're just always trying stuff like we talk about, just always experimenting and being willing to make a decision and stick with it for at least a little bit of time, I think is key. I feel like a lot of people get stuck in that analysis paralysis, which you do not, neither do I.
No. And by the way, I wasn't completely sold on it either. And like the team actually had a lot of like, we like should have did this. Cause you know, the first bunch of months, it wasn't like doing anything. I was like, look, dude, we committed to this. Like, let's just see how it goes and make adjustments along the way. And, you know, but at that time too, we were still like, I would say doing a hybrid. So podcasts were on there, but I was still doing like a 10-minute video here, a 15-minute video there. And for them, they're like, dude, the 15-minute video is getting more views than the podcast, like a lot more. But you look at it and the watch time was way higher over here. And I'm like, well, what's more important? Is it a view or is it the amount of time someone spends with you?
Watch time for sure.
Yeah. And that's when it finally clicked for me. I was like, well, guys, views don't really matter. All that matters is how much time they spend with you. That's the number one metric of anybody building trust or doing business. It's not, you know, the frequency they see you for 10 seconds. It's the, dude, if you spend an hour with somebody really diving deep, like that's how you build trust.
Yeah, and I think the YouTube probably needed to see you consistently put it out, and they're like, all right, this is crushing on watch time. We're going to start to push it. So,
well, you know what happened was my guy goes, well, dude, you need to stop posting the 10-minute videos. And I was like, really? They're the one? No, he's like, it's like confusing the algorithm. And I was like, okay. I was like, you don't have to tell me. I'll quit making them tomorrow.
You just need a little bit of a nudge, and you say, I'm done.
Dude, you don't have to tell me. I'll quit. And sure enough, like he was like, give it 90 days of just pure hour plus. And he goes, and you should go longer.
We're like 40 minutes, 45 minutes is about where we are. But
my minimum now is an hour and a half.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Because I used to be an hour and I could have went longer, but I just had this clock and I'm like, hey, it's an hour. It's what this show is and everything. The moment I started doing an hour and a half, like as not even like, well, I would say it's kind of the goal, but I've had episodes that are 2.5 hours because it was just so crazy of like these different topics. They crush.
Yeah.
The longer, the better.
Well, I mean, yeah. So if somebody's watching, 30 minutes of it, if that's the average watch time, that's huge. Like that video is going to do well. YouTube, if you're going to go somewhere and sit for 30 minutes, YouTube's going to love you. And any
and your watch time is going to inevitably be higher. The video's longer.
Yeah, because it's usually a percentage. So yeah, no, I think we need to make ours a little bit longer. And I'm going to start doing guests and stuff. We're redoing our studio now, so that'll help because you do a lot of that. Do you ever do anything just you, or is it always guests usually?
I'll do a solo thing.
Okay.
That's hard. Talking by yourself
that
for
long,
an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I'll usually do for an hour is a training. So I'll still like count a training as a podcast, but like I'll get my whiteboard and I'll be like, all right, guys, I'm going to teach you content today. I'm going to teach you real estate, whatever. Right. So it's more of a master class than a podcast, but we'll still put it out as a podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Putting out good content is always important.
Yeah. So, I mean, like for you at this point, you said it wasn't worth the time, but now you're doing the podcast out of fun. Obviously you believe in the long term of it. Is your goal simply to do it to, build the education side of the business, or are you trying to raise capital? What's the whole point?
Yeah, it's more the education side, just building that brand out, as we talked about earlier, that I've been trying to work on. So it's more about building the brand. I definitely believe in podcasts long term, and the fact that we're redoing our studio, I'm going to be able to have guests and come in person or virtually, and just meeting all the people that you are able to meet on a podcast. And I think I'll be able to get good people, even if I show them my other audience. Hey, I have, almost 3 million followers here. Come on my podcast, even though we're only getting $25,000 a month. Still, I'll put it on. So I think I'll be able to grow it quickly once we get it all set right. And it's definitely just to grow the brand and for the education. It's not to raise money. I haven't gone down that path. So interested how that's been with you, because I know a lot of people, how you grow and scale quickly is syndication and all that kind of stuff, and raising money. And by the way, that's how I plan to raise money for the NBA team is syndicate via social media. Give somebody $250,000. They own a 0.0025% of the team, and so then I'll have owners all around the country, be like Green Bay, but actual owners. But anyways, my goal is not to raise money at this point, but I do know growing an audience, having eyeballs, I can do that if I want to. If I start to create some content for a few months in a row around it, start to pitch it, I do think I can raise a decent amount of money pretty quickly. So it's kind of a ace in the hole thing if I need it, having those eyeballs.
Yeah. Do you ever? Well, so because the majority of your short form, I'll kind of like give you some subjective things that I've experienced. Mm-hmm. So I can tell when somebody has, if somebody recognizes me just at freaking dinner or whatever, right? And I can tell whether they're like a true fan or not. And the reason I say true fan or not is because I'll get people who are like, dude, like I've seen you on TikTok. You're that guy, who talks about real estate, right? Mm-hmm. And that tells me like, obviously they've never listened to a pod. Like they just saw me, the guy with the hair. And then, when I go to like WealthCon and our big events and things, right? I'll be like, hey, how many of you guys have seen my podcast? Literally
that's everybody.
Every hand. Mm-hmm. And so like subjectively, I know that the buyers are the people who are watching long term. But then you're still building like this awareness with the short form where they definitely have seen your face. You're recognized, because like I'll get people too who are like, they give you the look. Mm-hmm. And you're like, dude, this guy, like, you can't say anything, and then they just don't, or whatever. Or they do, and they're like, you're that guy, right? You're like on social media.
It's always kind of awkward, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you kind of hit on the point that I think they all tie together.
Yeah.
So you do need a little bit of both. And I've just been so focused on the short form because I don't know, maybe it's just the fact that you can get so many views and it's cool or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, and it obviously helps pay the bills. Enough of them trickle down to the community that it's fine. But I do 100% agree. I'm going to focus more on that long form, focus more on that podcast, because I think having both is best. But I'd much rather have a bigger podcast than a bigger Instagram or TikTok for sure. So
yeah, you can end up like Joe Rogan and just go get 100 milli. Mm-hmm. I mean, even like Patrick Bet-David has kind of come to that conclusion too, where he's had Valuetainment for almost 10 years. And all of a sudden he's just all in on PBD podcast. Mm-hmm.
And you were talking earlier, Hermosi is another one that podcast was out for a while and then just hit recently. I think because maybe a social media glow up kind of pushed people there, but still, I think I've heard him say several times that he didn't really have that many downloads or watches for years until recently.
Yeah. Like people think he came out of nowhere. He actually been grinding for a long time on social media. And I think he was saying his podcast started in like 2017 or something. Mm-hmm. So this is not anything like out of nowhere. The thing I said with him and just even other people, because like Patrick Bet-David, he's been on the show and he was like, Ryan, dude, you're so far ahead of where I was. It's not even funny. He's like, my first 3 years of Valuetainment, I had 4,000 subs in 3 years. Wow. And he's like, I just knew though. I stayed with it and everything else. And he's like, I just knew what the future was going to be. And, like I said, Hormozi's the same way. These other guys, they've been doing it so long. There are very few just like instant celebrity success. And even for me, I like to say, I got on YouTube in 2020 and that was when I started really taking it serious in TikTok, but it's like not even necessarily true because, I started doing Facebook posts in 2016. Mm-hmm. That was when I started to like really utilize it for, my business, and I was just using it to get deals and like raise private money. And I just did that for years. And then, I had an Instagram. I wouldn't say I was creating content, but I was doing stories and taking pictures. Not like it was just blank. So I knew the power of social media. It was just in 2020, it finally like dawned on me how powerful it was and that there was an actual process to being successful at it. And I think you probably had the same realization with real estate where it was like, well, yeah, I know real estate's important. But then at some point you realized, no, there's actually like a process. I can generate leads and then I can get a sales team and then, I can exit these things. And at that point it's math. Like how much do I want to put at the top of the engine to create this result I'm looking for?
Yeah. You can just crank the die once you have the systems in place, which as we were talking earlier, you got a lot of systems in place. It's one of those things where you grind, you fail, years and years of failure and screwing up and learning. And then boom, you're an overnight success 2 minutes later because people just heard about you. Then you have I don't know anybody that's like would be considered like a crazy like success story that people know about that hadn't been doing it for multiple years.
Well, and the other part of it too is you yourself may not have done anything worthy of getting the big success yet. So the way I think about this is like, okay, so Patrick started it 10 plus years ago. Patrick ain't freaking who he was today back then. I don't know how successful he was, but my guess is when he first started 10 plus years ago, I'm sure he was doing well, but nothing crazy, right? The other part that changed during that time was YouTube 10 years ago wasn't what it is today, right? So like you got all these factors that are playing, into why people finally like break out. I've said it even with Alex before. It's like, well, Alex was already doing well. He was known in the digital marketing community. He was like one of the top guys in ClickFunnels and all this other stuff. But he became really known once he finally exited. And he made his pivot of saying, okay, I've had this big exit. I'm going to market myself as this guy who's an expert at buying and selling businesses. And I want to grow portfolio and, all this stuff. Like that was the turning point when his credibility became solidified. And I think Patrick Bet-David's going through a similar thing where his credibility is solidified by the sale of his company and, multiple 9 figures. Cardone's credibility has become solidified by buying $4 billion of real estate, so like even for us, it's like, yeah, we have credibility, but we have I don't want to say low. We have low credibility today versus where we'll be in 10 years.
Oh gosh. Yeah. I won't even be, not even the same. I'm not going to be the same person. You're not going to be the same person. We were texting about changing. Change is a good thing. You're changing to be better. So yeah, you have to continually do it. And then you're going to, there's so many variables. It's not a simple math equation. There's science, there's art, there's math. It's all combined into one. That's why you cannot predict exactly when things are going to take to that next level. But yeah, as long as you're sticking with it, eventually it will.
Yeah. Just do the right things day in and day out and just like let the results fall where they may. It's just discipline is kind of what gets you to that next level.
Yeah, that's success, right? Everybody's like, what do you do? You probably get asked way more than I do. What are your secrets to success? And it's like doing the same things over and over again and being okay with minimal results and having delayed gratification. That's all success is. People are just, in my opinion, they get too impatient. They don't have that delayed gratification and they try something for 2 weeks and it doesn't work out. So they quit. They're not any smarter. They just gave up too early. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, like I even asked you at the beginning, because I'm guilty of this, even though I'm very like disciplined and consistent, I also get bored really quickly. And so when I was like, dude, do you ever get tired of just like talking about debt and making the same videos? And you're like, yeah, I mean, it's not my favorite, And I think it's important for people to hear that because they think that, in order to do something a lot, you have to just love it. And it's like, no, not really. You can do things you don't necessarily like a lot over and over again because you like the result.
That's exactly where I am on it, where I'm like, I don't love talking about debt and doing the same thing over again. And I heard this from Gary a year or two ago, Gary V, like if you find something that works, stick with it. Like everybody tries to create the new viral video, every other video, and that's really tough to do. So I do other stuff. I do 7 debt videos a month maybe, but they're always just the ones that hit. But I try those other things and then I know I got the debt that I can go back to, and I don't always love it. I think I heard some survey the other day that they're like over 90% of like NFL players don't even like football. They just do it for the paycheck. Like you don't have to love every single thing about every single thing you do. But as the minute my social media dips a little bit, then I'm like, all right, do a debt video. And then the result is the reason that I continue to do it, because it hits. Even though you have the people do a different video. Well,
very few people do something out of just pure love, and they just kids. It's like, okay, there's this circle, and you've read Good to Great. Mm-hmm. So there's this. I forget what they call it. The
hedgehog concept.
The hedgehog concept.
Oh yeah, we talk about that a lot. Yep.
So it's like, all right, there's 3 pillars of the hedgehog concept. So you've got. Can you be world class, aka your talent at the thing? Can this be like your money revenue driver type deal? And then, how much do you like it? Like, do you desire to do this thing? And it's like the best people in the world have all 3 of those in whatever they're doing. They're really good. It makes a ton of money and they love it. It's a rare thing to have all 3. Most people, right? They got to hit all 3 in different buckets. So it's like, oh yeah, I make my money over here. This is just kind of how I make money. And I know I don't really necessarily like it, but I got to do it. I'm really good at these different things, even though I may not necessarily like them. And usually the job and that thing is correlated. And then things you're passionate about, most people don't make money on them.
No.
It's just like, this is this bucket over here that I just do. I love sports or video games or art, whatever your passion is. And it's a rare thing if you're able to actually do all 3.
Yeah, those 3 things you just mentioned, those are tough to make a lot of money on, because you got to be really good at sports to make money, and art and video games. But no, I that hedgehog concept, we talk about that all the time. Just finding something that fits all 3, that like that Venn diagram in my head of the circle, that little bitty, whatever shape that is in the middle. That's tough, and I'm still doing a lot of the consistent things over and over, but I'm looking for that still. I'm always trying to find something that I know that I'll love, that I know that'll make money, that I know that I can be super good at. So yeah, it's always growing.
Yeah. And I will say, it's doable. Like for me, when I first started flipping houses, I felt like I was all 3. I was like, dude, I'm good at this, makes money, and I actually really like it. And then eventually you're like, all right, I flipped enough houses. This is like a thing now. Mm-hmm. And I would say right now I'm still there in the education world. I'm like, all right, I'm great at it. It makes money and I love doing it. I love helping people. So like it's fulfilling on all parts. So I'm excited about that. But I will say baseball, 90% of NFL players don't like football. I played 8 years professionally in the minors making no money. And by the end of it, I was making money, like a lot of money flipping houses. And so I just kept playing because I was like, bro, I just love playing sports. And I already knew there was like a lifespan to it. And the moment I retired, it was done. And I was going to be stuck filming podcasts with people from St. Louis.
Yeah, well, people from the middle of the butthole of the country.
Yeah, I would rather play baseball in St. Louis. Like I have no problem doing that.
Yeah, you would be. I mean, you got to give us credit there. Cardinals.
Heck yeah, dude. Cardinals are great. So best organization.
Yeah, no, that would be a little down last couple of years, but we'll be back. But no, I agree. I think, and to cover on that point, I do think that baseball, it's so hard to get there, and all the steps that they do have to love it more. And it's just you do, like, I feel like people that play baseball love it more than most professional sports. If there was ever a survey, I would guess that for sure.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, you got to really love the game to do everything, because the other ones are kind of like instant gratification.
For sure. It's
like, oh yeah, you're straight to the NFL right after college, and you've been baby your whole career. You're like the guy in high school to D1. You don't even have to go to class. Then you're like, you just kind of just baby.
And now you get paid with NIL.
Oh yeah.
And then I think the basketball's even worse. Like the AAU, how they pander to every little thing. So like basketball, yeah, you're pander to your entire life, and then you make it to the league if you're, they can tell pretty early if you're probably going to make it. There's very few surprises. So yeah, I think those are just instant. You got it or you don't. Baseball, there's just so many nuances to it, and it's so freaking hard that yeah, you have to really love it to make it to that next level.
Yeah. You're talking about Gary Vee earlier. I got the privilege to spend 20 minutes with him one-on-one a few weeks ago in Dallas. And speaking of new things, right? You're like, Gary says, when you find something that works, just stick to it. And I'm just like, dude, but what's next, Gary? Like, I'm gonna stick to this, right? And I saw him say something that really resonated with me, and it was something I was already thinking about. And he was like, podcast, you got to start a podcast in 2024. I was like, tell him, Gary. We've been telling everyone that at Pineda Media. And he was like, but here's the thing. I was like, okay, what's he going to say? He's like, I think what's going to blow up on podcast is doing your podcast while also doing another activity and just making it this very interactive thing. Okay. And this could be something good for you to think about, because he was like, yeah, like sitting and talking is great and that will do fine. But he gave a couple of like random weird examples. Like, what if you were doing this while you were having the conversation? Like, that would be epic. And I started to think about it. I'm like, all right, what are examples that already exist? And I thought about Hot Ones.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that's the perfect example. It's like Hot Ones has been around for a long time. They're doing something while having this conversation. That's a podcast. And they've blown up, right?
Yeah, and I mean, they've blown up and they're genius, right? It's funny to see people's reaction, and he does a ton of research. His questions are top notch. The questions he asked, that's a huge one. And I was thinking a much less example when you're saying that, Ryan, was the Pat McAfee show on. He's like blown up recently on ESPN. Yeah. He got signed by them, and he's different. Like he's like standing, and it's just a little bit different than your standard podcast. It's not quite the Hot Wings.
Yeah,
you went a step further, but I just was thinking while you were going through that, like it's different. He's standing. It's just different than your traditional sit-down radio show style podcast that I listen to for sports, like Colin Cowherd or something like that. I love listening to him, but it's very traditional. So I love the idea of trying to do something unique.
And I think it comes down to adding that visual element, because right now, the top podcasts have great video quality and cuts and all that. And so it's great. Like that's, a standard now. But you think of Hot Ones, you have to watch it. You can't just listen to Hot Ones. And so that's what makes podcasts great, is that you can not have to be like actively watching it to be, you can
be working out, driving,
all that stuff, right? Whereas Hot Ones and all those are like active watching stuff. So I was like, I had this idea for a long time and I wasn't sure I wanted to do it. I was like, I really want to start a golf channel. And just like, that's all I want to do, because I golf every week anyway. And I golf with like famous people. Mm-hmm. There's great conversations in the cart. I was like, I think I'm going to start a golf channel. And once again, one of my consultants was like, well, how often, like, what's your plan here? How many are you going to do? What's the deal? He's like, just put it on the main channel. And I was like, all right, you know what? You're right. Like, it's not this thing I want to like commit to full time where it's like, dude, once a week, I got to get my golf, video podcast in. The more I thought about it, the more I was like, yeah. And then like Gary said that, and I was like, that's what I would do.
That would make a ton of sense for you, man, because I see you do some short form on there with that podcast stuff. And I was doing a webinar last week, and I said something about like doing an in-person event and golfing. And somebody said in like the chat on the side that was scrolling by, there was like 1,000 people on there, so nothing crazy, but a lot of chats. And they're like, you should do like golf like Pineda does it. And I was like, no one would want to pay $5,000 to golf with me. And there was a bunch of people like, I'd do it. So I was like, you should for sure do the golf thing. And I'll be one of your guests, and as long as 225 yards in the woods to the right, as long as there's no cameramen there with my slice, they'll be fine. So I got a wicked slice. I'm good after that, but my slice is pretty wicked.
Well, and that's the part that's fun about it is so this podcast, we could have did it playing golf and had now the conversation would have been far less, and it would have been like, instead of a podcast being 100% conversational, maybe it's now 50-50 action versus conversation. And when I say action, it's more like entertainment now. And to me, that would be amazing, because now all of a sudden you're seeing these entrepreneurs or golfers, because I got a lot of famous golfers that are down. But how many people would ever get to see you go golf, right? And get to see you like...
Probably a good thing, but I know what you mean.
But and also too, you have this competition with it too, where it's like, we make it a fun thing, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to give Sam however many strokes to make this game really interesting.
25.
25 strokes. Or I'm going to let him play with his partner.
Yeah, he's actually good.
Yeah, and then we'll scramble.
Like 6 or 7. So
okay, you guys would scramble against me. And now it's like this really interesting game. If you play with a guy who sucks. Yeah. But the conversation is like, why they're coming.
I get it. It's okay.
Yeah. Hey, you called it out. So, when you said 225 off the tee, I was like, all right, boy, he's
well, just because it slices, I hit it about 280 yards. It just goes to banana.
It's just not straight.
I hit it good. It just
total
goes,
travel time.
Yeah, it's in the air just as long as yours, man. Just doesn't go as far.
So I just thought about it, and I was like, dude, that would be epic, dude. I would love, as a viewer, to go watch these entrepreneurs and famous influencers golf, as long as they were like decent. Yeah, you're not going to take a hack.
I was quitting. I'm like a 11 or 12.
Yeah. So as long as you're adequate to play, dude, perfect. I'm not going to get somebody this is their first time. That would suck. But that would be so fun, because I'm going to do it anyway. And then you film this conversation. There's now this competitive element that people want to see the outcome at the end.
They'll stay to the end.
Yeah, because they're like, dude, is he going to like, and you put something on the line.
Oh yeah.
Charity
or just something
pride.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shave your beard.
Shave your head.
Shave your head.
That would have to be a big one for you.
Yeah. Like, dude, I'd have to be playing Tiger Woods or something.
Yeah.
Right?
It'd have to be that. Well, so the match that they do, the matches have been big recently on a lot of different networks, or maybe just one network, but like, they do the NFL players versus each other. Then so that's been a thing, and they have the little stuff in their ear and they talk.
It's the same thing.
And so
and
I
people love it.
Yeah, if you have somebody like almost emceeing it as they're like, because they have like Charles Barkley, whoever emceeing it. But if somebody was like kind of giving direction, because it'd be tough for you to do that, but you'd be the person. But yeah, I see a lot of potential. That'd be perfect for you. You're known as like the golf guy now, among your other things, your hair and all the cool stuff you do. But you're definitely known as the creator that golfs for sure.
Yeah, and it's not that I even tried to be. It's just that's who I am. Like, I just wanted to golf and do it more, and I've become like in love with it, and it's replaced baseball for me. And like I just want to be great. And like my vision is So actually, I take that back. I wanted to own the Ace, and like I still do, but I actually like want to build golf courses and other things.
I heard you say that. Yeah, that's a cool golf community.
Yeah, and like I want to be the best celebrity golfer. So like I want to compete against the Tony Romos and the Currys and these guys. So that's like a big goal of mine that I know I can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was
podcasts will help that, by the way. If you do like a golf podcast, will 1,000% help that. Well,
and so I've been studying all these golf YouTube channels now in preparation. So I'm like, why is Good so big? Let me go watch. So now I work out every morning. I'm watching Good and just doing it. And then I'm watching all these other guys who got channels. I'm like, okay, I get, because they're already kind of doing it. It's like pure entertainment and bickering and fun and like, but theirs is more so like there's not a lot of deep conversation. It's just
substance.
It's just entertainment, which is great. It crushes. But imagine if you kind of like got that 50-50. We're still talking about the real estate market and these things. But then boom, 10 seconds later, you got to putt, you got to drain. Or you shank one, and then all of a sudden you're back to the conversation.
Just shank one, but no, and it'd be like a 4-hour deal. So I don't know if you'd have it be like
you live,
or that's my point.
Yeah.
Is I think it would be pretty conversational if you got an hour and a half out of a 4-hour golf game. There'd be plenty of natural conversation. So yeah, I don't think it would be as choppy as you'd think if you're cutting it up.
All right, well,
do it.
All right. Well, I'm going to do it. So anyways, I asked Gary V. That was the first thing I asked him. I go, Gary, what do you think of this idea? He's like, bro, I love it. He's like, do it. I'm like, all right, I'll just do it.
Was that your Gary V impression?
I love it.
Yeah.
He just is like, that was my best one. It wasn't very good, but
it wasn't too bad.
He loved it.
I do. Yeah, he loved it. Good. I like it. No, I think obviously you've already made your mind to eventually do it, and I think it's going to be good.
You know what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a poll out and have all the influencers respond. I'm like, hey, you better send me your handicap. If you're under a 12, you can be on this golf pod.
I made it.
You made it. I just literally made it because you said you were an 11.
There you go.
Because I'll have you on it. And that way I don't get the hacks and, we'll have a freaking really fun competition.
And I think you can chop up, Ryan, going down a little deeper, I think you could chop up short form content with it a little bit better. Like I know this is choppable, but like a putt and then like a short form content slicing, or even like the how they track the ball with the.
Oh, yeah.
So I think you could cut up a lot of short. It'd be a heavy lift, but it'd be worth it.
It ain't my time.
Yeah, that's
true.
Lift
for me.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well,
guys,
maybe a little heavy lift on your pocketbook, but not a ton. Not enough that'd make a difference.
No, it ain't gonna matter. And I had one thing I like now, because I'm studying golf videos now, this is like what I do in my free time is I study my next endeavor for fun. And I watch these golf shorts and stuff. And so, there's some comedy ones, but there's ones that are so simple and easy that are cool. It's like, play the hole with me.
I love those.
Yeah.
And those guys are usually pretty good. Or I've seen some bad guys, which is fun to watch, but some of those guys are real good. That's really cool to see.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I do that anyway. Just film me golfing the holes.
Get it behind you, yeah.
Like there's nothing to it.
No, I follow golf pretty actively because I have a buddy from high school that's on the tour.
Oh, nice.
What's
his name?
His name's Adam Long. He won a couple years ago. He beat Phil Mickelson at the American Express in California, and he was like ranked 60th in the world for like 2020 to 2021.
Tell me he needs to go to live. It's too late, but
he's too late. Now he's been struggling.
He should have took that bag.
He should have. Golf's a tough sport, though, as you know. Like those guys, like Spieth was like nothing, and now he's great again.
Back.
And yeah, and Ricky was bad for a while. So I get super frustrated frustrated with him because I know him, but like he's struggling right now, and he'll get through it, but he's struggling right now. But
yeah, no, he'll get through it. It's just, dude, and that's all sport, and honestly too, that's content. That's right, life. Like you could be on top of the world, and then boom, something happens, adversity, and adversity could be self-inflicted. It could be you made some bad decisions. It could be you got some problems at home. You know, you had a health crisis. Like, you know, there's things that happen from that. And then there could be things that are completely out of your control. The market shifts. You get laid off. You AI destroys whatever advantage you had, and you got to pivot. And most entrepreneurs just aren't mentally like able to handle change.
Yeah, I think something that I've noticed in whatever level of success I've had is like the minute I took like the mindset side of it seriously, like I used to be like, mindset doesn't matter. Like I'll roll up my sleeves, I'll work harder than you, I'll spend extra time. Like it doesn't matter if I have a strong mindset or a mindset of abundance. Like that's the last thing on my mind. But as soon as I started like focusing on actually having a strong mindset and like working on that side of things, everything is just done really, really well because I've been able to focus on, you know, the mindset, something that I used to set aside. So I think I've 10x what I've been able to do when I've focused on having a strong mindset and working on my mental health and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's a huge part of it that has really aided whatever, like I said, success I've had.
Yeah, no, 100%. One question, this actually came while I was golfing, that one of my friends said. He said, "Hey, Ryan, you know, you interview all these guys and you guys talk about like the good stuff most of the times and their highlights. And sometimes you guys talk about bad stuff." He's like, "But most people learn their best things from like the hardest thing they had to deal with." And that's kind of what we're talking about now. What would you say is the hardest thing you had to deal with that's contributed to success?
I mean, so I've screwed up a ton, which I do talk about. I know you do too. I should probably talk about more, but probably the hardest thing, and it's not really that bad. The hardest thing that I've had to kind of deal with is you have a partner in most of your stuff, right?
Yeah.
But like Lucas and I, we're like 50-50 in everything. We've started everything from scratch, everything. Yeah. So dealing with me and his differences, that we've been friends for 25 years and he has a certain way that he likes to do things. I have a certain way that I like to do things, and not letting our like differences in managerial styles or differences in, you know, how we like to see things or our expectations cloud our friendship, but then also the businesses. So that's been a little bit tougher to navigate. And then there's deals where I've lost 100, 150 grand, all that kind of stuff that I've learned from. And just, you know, not being as disciplined or hiring the wrong people is always something that I've learned from. But what about you? What's one of your bigger learning lessons from screw ups?
I actually did a whole presentation at last WealthCon.
Okay.
I said, hey, here are these last 12 months have been the hardest 12 months of my life. In terms of business and all these different things. And I said, you know, here are all the reasons why, and here are the 5 things I learned from it. And I think the last 12 months have been difficult for not any one particular reason. It was just like this culmination of all these just bad things happening at once. You know, I had to shut down multiple companies. The real estate market turned and you lose millions. My wife was pregnant during all of this. We were fighting more than we ever had fought because, you know, I'm over here trying to put out all these business fires, and, you know, we just come out of these last bunch of years of like, you know, quote unquote prosperity where, you know, things were way easier, you know, so I had way more time to just kind of like take it easy and not have to do the things I have to do when things are hard. You know, just dealing with having to reset company culture when things are hard, right? Because people start complaining. It's not, you're not used to having to work as hard. It's, you know, it's all the same stuff. So I had to like go through all of those things. How do you deal with all these losses? How do you shut down different companies and deal with the fallout from that? How do you deal with lawsuits? How do you deal with, you know, a pregnant wife, and plus, you know, having your other kids? How do you deal with figuring out how to manage cash flow now? Because, you know this, when you're writing pro formas and budgeting cash flow, you're not expecting to lose.
No, that's never in the pro forma. No,
that's not in the pro forma. And so when you're doing your budgets, you're like, okay, you know, we're going to buy this property and that, we're going to do this marketing and that. And, you know, it should return this when it's all said and done. We should get the money back at this time. And then, you know, ideally there's this profit with it. And then all of a sudden what happens is by the time you get to that time, not only are you not getting your money back, but you're actually having to go pay money to close the deal and get rid of the property, or, you spend this money on marketing and it doesn't yield anything back. And so, you go through all these just things at once. And I was like, holy crap, this is like freaking one thing after another. And, I'll actually, you know what? I'm going to post the presentation on YouTube because it was a really good one. People loved it.
Do it. I'll watch it.
Yeah. It was, and I talked about the 5 things I learned, and it was like all life encompassing. One was, with the whole spouse thing, like, hey, you got to communicate better. At the end of the day, my wife and I were bickering because of a lack of communication. It wasn't because, I wouldn't even say it's her fault or hormones or anything. Maybe hormones played a role, but it was because I didn't truly tell her like how difficult things were. And I just tried to fix them and like not like stress her out or anything with it. And then all she sees is me having to work extra and do things that I wasn't having to do before at home. And like, that's taking away time from the kids and with her. And, once I properly communicated, I said, hey, this is like what's going on. This is why I have to do what I have to do. The last 8 years, I've never had to do this. Like, I should have enough trust by now to know that, if I have to do this, there's probably a good reason for it. And that was my mindset of like, you should know that.
So what was the reason you think you weren't communicating with her? Was it like pride or vanity? Like that's because similarly, when I got started, so different story, but I didn't communicate with why I was making $250,000 at my job and why I was spending every weekend at houses and cleaning up and doing all that stuff. I didn't communicate with it, and led to a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
We were been married for 2 or 3 years at the time. We were fighting a lot. And the minute I realized I'm not communicating with you, because I was like, you should trust me. I'm not just doing this for fun. Like, I shouldn't have to tell you that this is important for it to be important. So I was thinking it probably similarly, but I started doing PowerPoint presentations to her explaining like what we were doing, and it worked. It worked. So I did about 3-4 months of that, and she got the gist and saw the bigger vision. And now she's incredibly supportive. And I have similar things with you where things will be going bad at work, and I'll just come home and crabby. And she's like, as long as it's not me you're mad about, or me you're kind of crabby about, as long as it's like something to do with work, we can talk about it or not, but just make sure it's not me, because they go through like, hey, it's something I did. So anyways, I didn't want to overtake the conversation. Just very similar, which I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs,
for sure,
especially ones that get through the crap and get punched in the face and are okay. And it sounds like you were getting punched several different angles. So it's a lot of people, you get punched once, you know who to punch back and you're good. But if it's coming everywhere, it's kind of hard. So anyways, I just think it's pretty similar.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's why I wanted to share it with everyone at WealthCon, because I was like, guys, look, I've been very successful and I'm blessed, but let me tell you, very few people would survive everything that I've had to survive and endure the last 12 months. And, just with the spouse one, that was a new one, because honestly, we've had a very, I would say, I don't say easy marriage, but we don't really fight much at all. And, it was just this thing where, like I said, I just had not had to work like that at home. I've always been able to get what I need to get done here, or like early in the morning, well before she ever woke up or anything. So like for her, it was like a very violation of like our commitment to our family, of that, like, dude, why are you working, at night? You should be doing these things with the kids and not on the phone. And like, that's the commitment you've made to this family, which is true. We've had all the success without me having to do that. And we've been very blessed that, that's been able to happen. But I said, look, if I knew, like, it just so happens that this is what it is. There's just no other way around it at this point in time. And it's not going to be forever. Trust me, this is not going to develop into this thing that is forever. But I do know that this is going to have to happen for at least the next 3 to 6 months. It could be longer, but this is not going to be a forever thing. And I never properly communicated that. I just assumed, like, do you really think that I've been one way this whole time, and then all of a sudden I'm doing I'm doing it because I freaking want to do it. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, I the same thing I was saying. Of course, I want to be home with you and the girls. So
So, but they need to hear it. So that was a big takeaway, and that cleared it up. And we didn't have a PowerPoint, but what we did do,
you didn't do a PowerPoint.
No, we didn't do a PowerPoint. But what we did do was similar, and this is an exercise I would have anyone do who's having problems with their spouse, is I don't even know where I came up with this. I was just like, this seems like a smart thing to do if you have an issue with somebody. I said, all right, babe, we're going to have like a serious conversation, which we've only had a few in our marriage of like super serious. Like we need to sit down and really talk. And so what we did was I got a piece of paper for both of us and I said, okay, write down everything that I do that you are not happy with. And I'll do the same similarly, right? I say, write down now everything that you would like me to do more of, right? So write down the things you like want me to stop. Write down the things that you want me to like start. It's basically like, I forget the report is called, but start, stop, slow down. It's like a stoplight report.
Yeah, the green, yellow, red.
Yeah. I guess that's where I came up with it. I thought I was original. But no, that's basically what happened was.
You stole a stop sign, Ryan.
Yeah, I stole it, but it was original to me at the time.
Yeah.
In a time of crisis, I leaned on what I knew. And so I said, okay, tell me the things you want me to stop. Tell me the things you want me to start and do more of. And then, just tell me the things, like anything else that we're missing, like any just thoughts and whatever, right? And so like we went back and forth on stuff and we both understood each other much better now. And it made it easier.
Yeah.
And, it got us through a difficult, because I'm like, look, if you're mad at me during this time, I'm going to have a really tough time dealing with the rest of this crap. Like I need my house to be the last thing that I got to worry about. And so thankfully that worked out. And now we're about to celebrate 10 years of marriage in 2 days.
Congrats. Yep, that's when we were talking about this. Yeah, Wednesday. That's exciting. I'm going to be 11 years here in November 17th, so a little bit behind you. But I think that's important. So it was a little bit hard and awkward probably to write all that stuff down. But
super weird.
I was just envisioning like me and Courtney doing that and be like, she's still writing with the stuff. She'd like, I'm done with the
She's
stuff.
She's like, I need another paper.
Yeah, because nothing really. I don't get annoyed very easily, so my list would be very short, but her list would probably be very long. So I was envisioning that. That also got me thinking. So I'm sure you're familiar with Traction. Do you follow Traction?
So we have our own system.
Do you work with Gary on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gary, we basically use the system called Rise.
Rise. Yep.
Okay. And, we use it in wealthy business for our students and everything too. And, so we use Rise. So we
use Traction up until this point, but having the multiple businesses, multiple COOs is just different than how they have in Traction. So we are, Luke's is actually working on, this is fourth quarter rock because we're still in Rise, or we're still in Traction. We talked to Gary a little bit, but we're creating like our kind of own operating system, kind of stealing a little bit from a ton of other operating systems. And one of them is going to be like our COO. So we have our board meeting every Monday with Luke's and I and our COOs and our finance team, our CFO, and it's going to be spousal check-ins. Like that's going to be like part of what you guys need to do.
Yeah.
You need to talk to your spouse every Sunday or whatever, one day a week for 10 minutes about what's going on in work. So just got me thinking having that communication on the home front is very important. And Matt, just so you know, you're going to have to do a spousal check-in as soon as Faster OS comes into play, Q1 of next year. So yeah, just having that. And I feel like if you do it for 10 minutes a week and we, have our high level people, hopefully everybody, but doing it for 10 minutes a week, it just will avoid those bigger bubble up and blow ups kind of.
Yeah, no, 1000%. You got to make sure your house is good. Dude, if your house is a mess, your business is going to be a mess.
Yeah,
for
that's
sure.
The foundation of everything. We talked about that quite a bit. If the home life is good, then everything else is just easier and you're just more confident. But if that is bad, there's issues at home, then it's just everything. I like distracted when I'm at work, right? If things are good with Courtney, we don't like text every 5 minutes. We text a little bit during the day, but I'm there, I'm at work, I'm focused. But if things aren't good, and we're not texting or texting, like I'm just distracted and I'm not near as productive as if I am when things are good. So.
And that's the cool thing with our relationship is like, we really don't talk throughout the day because she freaking knows I'm just like, bam, 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 like one thing to another. And, but the trade-off is, hey, when you get home,
you're home.
The same type of treatment needs to be over here. You just did all your stuff. Now be present over here. And so, that's how I like it. Like I don't want her texting me every hour. What's up at work? Oh, I don't know.
How long you got? Yeah.
Just this guy did this. Oh yeah, this just
we just lost money on this deal. We just made this much money. Yeah, no. We're the same way. Even when I'm like here, like if I'm at like a convention or mastermind or speaking somewhere, like we'll text once a day. Like yeah, she's like, you're doing your thing. That's fine. So we have a similar relationship in that aspect.
Yep. One of the other lessons was strictly real estate related. And I said, you know what? The only thing that allowed us to withstand losses like that is we had multiple cash conversion cycles going on at once. And so when people are locked into just one way of doing real estate, they get burned, dude. Because it's like, all right, man, we had all these flips before rates doubled. And so like we got burned. And the only way to offset those losses was by having wholesales and novations and everything else. If we were only, say, a rental company, we'd have been in trouble because, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, man, how do you get cash coming in? Well, for me, you know, we built up a rental portfolio. And so what did I do? I sold off a few of my rentals because I knew they had equity. It's like, all right, you know what? Let's sell this one. It's got a couple $100,000. That'll help us offset the losses this month. All right, let's sell another one. That'll help this month. And so being able to kind of like pull from the pipeline to offset helped. Even like in the syndication, right? We had to do we needed to come up with 1.2 million to do like a capital call. And I was like, well, dude, like I don't want to raise more money from the investors. Like they put a lot of money into this deal. We need to figure this out on our own. And so me and my partner on the deal, he put in 600 of his money. I put 600 of my own money. And it's like, dude, you know, people don't just have 600 grand just chilling, waiting around to go capital call something that, you know, is already needs more money because it's not going the way that you want. And I just felt like it was the right thing to do. And, you know, now I'm into this project myself for over $1 million. And it's like, man, you know, I got to do this capital call while I'm losing money over here and while I'm doing this and doing that. And, you know, it's just like, well, thankfully, even though I'm like naming the bad things, you have these good things happening in between, right? All right, cool. We had a massive month wholesaling and novations. Like that'll help fund this. All right, great. I just did a refi on a property and we got 700 grand cash back. All right, great. We just had this event and it did really good. All right, great. You know, I just sold my tax firm, got money from that. Like there's just all these good things happening too, even though I'm only talking about the negatives. But it didn't dawn on me until I really wrote that presentation, how many negative things had happened. Because, you know, like I'm just a positive guy. I'm like, freaking whatever, dude. That's business. Problem after problem, solution. That's why you make money. And then I looked at it and I was like, holy crap, that was a lot of problems that I freaking had to navigate through. And then I also looked at what did that lead to? And I pulled out all the new stuff that's happened this last year. I was like, wow, you know, we got rid of all this old crap that, you know, wasn't going to necessarily have a future or, you know, set the foundation for something better. And then all of a sudden now we have these new things that, you know, are amazing and super whether it's a business or a relationship or a partnership or whatever.
Yeah, no, when you were saying all that, I was thinking all the negative stuff, like I'm similarly positive look at the world. I feel like most entrepreneurs do, or at least the good ones do. And I couldn't think of like, you're like, what's your biggest learning lesson? And I like kind of gave like kind of a vague-ish answer because I'm trying to
But I'm sure you've had way worse stuff.
Oh yeah, but you had a presentation, so you kind of know that and went through that. If I did a presentation and sat down, I'm sure I could think of a ton. But then there's the other side of it is you're like, how much better of an entrepreneur are you after going through that? Sure. And your relationship is better at home because of what so there's obviously the positive sides of everything. And then having that multiple streams has been huge for us because our flipping company, we call it the flipping company, but wholesale, you know, we keep some as rentals, we you know, flip, we do novations, you know, wholesale, all that kind of company. Yeah. So we do a little bit of all that stuff too. But then you got the education company, which has been holding the bacon for the past 8 months or a year when the flipping or the investment flipping company has been hurting. So having those multiple streams is just, and you know, you have way more companies than I do even, but it's just so huge when you hit some turmoil is being able to have income coming over here when you have outflow going over there.
Yeah. I think just the big key is a lot of people will be like, that's proof. I need multiple income streams.
But it's like, where you're going.
Yeah. No, you don't. Not off the bat. You know, like you got to build one first and make that to me, $1 million stream at least before you even worry about this or that or this.
I think that's a good number. And then also having somebody to run those. Like we have a COO of flipping, COO of education, Matt over there, and then a COO of our rental company that does manages the cash, the private lenders, the refinances, and as well as management. We manage in-house. So having a strong leader in each company handing the reins off and then potentially going and trying something new and not trying to just have the, shiny object syndrome.
Speaking of that, you brought up partners. And, because I was thinking, all right, what I always try to do is have my COOs have some type of equity or profit split so that, we have the same interest align. And then you mentioned you and Lucas are 50-50 on everything. And so sometimes it's tough because you guys are button heads and everything else. And I think too, I don't know the full in depths of your guys' partnership, but I know that you on social media have grown and, you're the brand. Mm-hmm. And so theoretically you might carry more value than him at this point. I'm not like everyone's relationship is different. I can just tell you as somebody who's been in similar shoes, it's like, this partnership doesn't really make sense anymore. It made sense years ago when we were first where we were, but today it doesn't make a lot of sense. We either need to figure something new out or, do something, right? So how is it dealing with that?
I think we both understand that it's a long-term game because if we want to have $1 billion company, it's pretty tough to do that just on your own. As we were talking about, a bunch of people own NBA teams, not usually just one person. So I think we understand it's a long-term game. Our friendship has been around for a long time before the business, and then it goes in waves. So education, we made $42,000 in 2020. So like at that point, the flipping company,
nobody cared.
Yeah. The flipping company was holding the bacon for me personally. Like the flipping company was making the money. And then the rental portfolio, 25 million in equity. Lucas, I haven't been inside my past 50 houses like that. So like there's that side of it, like the wealth side of it. And then, sometimes the flipping company was doing better. Now education is doing way better than flipping right now as far as profit goes. But who knows? Maybe I'll say something stupid and get canceled or something like that. So so I think it's, right now education is the one that's holding the weight, but that's not, it wasn't always that way and it might not always be that way. But then there's also, I have one, he has two. I have education. That's what I run. That's what I focus on, visionary, whatever you want to call it. And then he's the visionary for the other two. So it's kind of one of those things where he's the visionary of the wealth, the 25 million in equity
stuff.
And then the flipping company has done well and they'll do well again. So, but I get where you're coming at. That kind of, you have those moments where you're like, well, we just, each split 400 grand profit this month, but this month it came from my company, kind of things. But we don't usually have those moments.
Yeah. Well, also too, the only reason I think about it is because I've got a buddy. I'm not going to say who it is. No one would even know him, so it doesn't matter. But
say his first name. I'm kidding.
Blink twice.
Yeah.
So basically, he's done billions in development. So big player, and he's had a partner for basically this entire time. Like the last 20 years of everything they've done, and he was basically like, "Dude, we're 50-50 on everything." Like literally, we have this joke that everything we do is 50-50. It doesn't matter if it's some random investment. We go 50-50 on it. There's not anything we do that's not 50. And we're not married, like we're just 50-50. Is like the only thing we're not 50-50 on is our personal residences. And even then we're kind of like, maybe we should be. Yeah. And so I was just thinking about that. I'm like, that's crazy that one, you've maintained a partnership that long, mm-hmm. right? Especially in real estate. That's crazy, number one. Number two, it's crazy that, like egos have never got in the way of, who's providing value and, whatever, right? And for them, obviously, like they both have provided. And I asked him about it. He's like, like it's very, very, it's always been very equal. There's never been like a time where whatever. But he was saying now at this point, I'm not going to say who, one of them is thinking about retiring and like taking their foot off the gas. And it's like, how do you now kind of wind it down? Because if somebody else wants to work and keep it going, and the business will still keep going. It's mm-hmm. just, somebody's now like active and somebody's not. So how do you deal with that? So that's something they're now uncovering.
Yeah.
And then the third thing would just be like, what do you do when you have disagreements in your 50-50? Because for me, there's not one company where I don't have the final say. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, it's a clear hierarchy of like, yeah, like we're going to talk about it, but at the end of the day, like this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, you'll take their opinion into account for sure, but you're going to make the final call.
Yeah.
So we kind of do have those lines of delineation in our businesses that we specifically run. Like if I want to do something.
Yeah, you're doing education.
Yeah. So and if he gives opinion sometimes, not often, and sometimes I listen, sometimes I don't. Similarly with their company, I don't like how they do certain things. Their company, I say I own half of it, but similarly to the flipping company, I don't like how they have certain things structured. I will let them know that and try to be in professional terms and sometimes they take into account, sometimes they don't. So I think there's that side of it. But then there's like, if we're ever, whoever is more passionate about a decision, has put more of their energy into like their point, will usually
win. Yeah.
All right, fine. You can go with it, because it's not always, we don't always agree on everything, but it's one of those things where it's like one.
And you shouldn't, by the way.
Yeah, no.
That's what leads to innovation.
Why would I need you, or why would he need me? So it's one of those things where it's 1 + 1 can equal 100, not 1 + 1 can equal 2. Like I don't have the structured mindset or whatever you have. I can't like control all these companies and make all the decisions. So I guess I could hire somebody to do that and give them like equity or a certain percent ownership. But I like having somebody I know and trust make the decisions of that business. So that outweighs to me any of the short-term disagreements we have. And who knows what the future holds if we'll have long-term, but any short-term disagreements we do have are outweighed by the long-term,
Yeah.
vision.
You guys know the big picture together.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you're probably in alignment on, let's just say 80% plus of the decisions. And then there's going to be those decisions where, you both have different opinions, and like, that's the hard part to solve. And it's funny because for the last year, when it comes to education, since we're talking about that, I'm kind of the opposite in that I don't want to run any singular entity. Like I just am like the guy thinking of all these new ideas and like, hey, you got full reign over this company. Like roll. And I was telling you beforehand, like all these changes we're making on the education side to just marketing and funnels and sales and all this stuff. And, I let Brian, who's my partner in that company, handle all of that for the last bunch of years. And he's done a great job. We've gotten to where we're at, right? And like I've looked at it and I'm like, all right, I don't like a lot of the things that we do process-wise here. Like we're just wasting so much stuff and resource, and we can totally revamp this, right? So I've come in and just totally revamped it, and obviously he's on board. But it's been interesting because we both arrived at the same conclusion that I didn't even think about until Brandon Turner asked me last week while we were doing something for his community over here. And he was like, how do you find like the right people and all this stuff? And I was like, dude, let me tell you. Okay. At this point, like it's awesome to like hire these people and everything else. But I've just realized like these people we hire, they don't know more than us. Like most don't. Like they may know some different things, but they don't know the whole picture of everything. I was like, and it didn't dawn on me until I was with Gary Vee in Dallas when I was like talking to him, and I was just asking him these questions, very pinpointed. And I started to think, I was like, this is literally like the king of marketing. This is where everyone like branches off from to learn. I was like, I'm talking to him directly. And I talked to all these other guys. I'm like, who would know more than me? Like not in an arrogant way, but just why would I expect somebody else to know it better than me? And then I really started to think about it. And I was like, also like a high level employee might be $100,000 to $200,000. Why would somebody who makes $100,000 to $200,000 know more than me? Mm-hmm. That makes no sense even on paper, like for what we're talking about. Now, like I said, they definitely know like the nuances of their job better than me. Like they could buy an ad or manage this department better. Like they know the detail portions of it, but there's just no way they could understand the full scope of how it works in the entire ecosystem. And Brian and I both came to that conclusion because he had spent the last year hiring all these just different specialists and all these things, and we've had to get rid of them and all this crap. And he's like, dude, you know what I've realized? He's like, we should just go with your gut. And I was like, you know what? I think we should too. That's what got us to this point. Why are we even like letting people run with these ideas and telling us, oh, well, we do this and that? Nah, dude, we'll just do it the way we think, and we'll roll with that first.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then we'll see what needs to change.
Yeah, I think something similarly that we are hiring and some of the same people that we work with, but like putting it on them and just assuming, hey, I can take it off my plate. That's what they do.
This guy's the expert.
And they probably are for like that specific field, but not for how that relates to my company and how I can tie everything together in the whole organization. So I 100% agree. Just being able to, I see things that they'll never see in the other companies.
They wouldn't know. There's just no way.
And it's not a shot at any of them, but just understanding that, hey, maybe like what you just did, you bucked up in the last couple months, you figured out a ton of things and created this incredible machine that wouldn't have happened if you didn't dig in and do that. No one else was going to do that.
No, nobody would.
And you figured out probably now that it was worth your time to do it.
Oh yeah. I don't know what else I was doing. I was probably making 10-minute YouTube videos.
Yeah. You're sitting there making I'm making a 10-minute YouTube video that, 320 people watch. I need to be doing something else with my time.
I could have been refining my system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And creating something that's like truly epic. Yeah. For sure.
Well, bro, this has been a lot of fun, man. I told you before, we usually go an hour and a half, but if the conversation is stimulating, we'll go over, and we're almost at 2 hours. And so, dude, it's been a blast. That, by the way, anyone listening, just know, if I wasn't feeling the conversation, it's probably like an hour 20, but So
go look at the YouTube, who's he done hour 20 with.
That's what it is. Or to be fair, some of those people had like hard stops.
I'm a kid. Yeah.
No, well, you judge by the conversation, but some had hard stops, and so we had to cut it short, and others, they just, I don't know. So this was a good conversation.
Yep.
So I appreciate you coming in, all the way from the gateway to the West. You're now in the West. I'm glad you left, and got to see some, like a real city and stuff. And that's great. And, dude, it's been awesome hanging out with you again.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's been too long. We need to get a little more regular communication going on. I appreciate your insight and having me out and doing this, more than you know.
Yeah. Well, next time you'll come out, you know what it'll be for?
Golf.
That's right. He knew. Freaking he's in. You're in.
I'm in.
Golf podcast coming soon, guys. Let me know if you want to see it, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
If the goal of life is to get as rich as possible, there are certain rules that make sense. Don't pay your house off. Maximize. Real estate rentals were a business back in